this isn't a book about working less or working more. It's about working smarter and living in a way where your career and your well-being can actually coexist, instead of constantly competing with each other. Grace Beverly has this phrase she uses to describe herself: a lazy workaholic. On the one hand, she's the classic high achiever, founder of 2 businesses, constantly busy, massive online presence. On the other hand, she's exhausted by hustle culture and sick of feeling like her worth is measured by how many hours she works. That tension is basically the whole point of working hard, hardly working. She's trying to answer, how do you build a life where you can still be driven, still care about success, but also rest, have boundaries, and not burn out by 30? The book is her way of saying, we've been sold this really weird split. Either you grind 24/7 or you're lazy. And actually, that's nonsense. Grace starts by going after hustle culture. That constant message that if you're not always busy, working late, side hustling, and on your grind, you're falling behind. She points out how social media has turned productivity into a performance. Perfect morning routines, aesthetic desk setups, 5 a.m. alarms, all making it look like everyone else is doing more than you. We feel guilty when we're not working. We feel like we're never doing enough when we are working. We call burnout laziness and grind ourselves even harder. So she tries to redefine hard work, not as most hours or most stress, but as focused, meaningful effort that moves the right things forward and leaves space for you to actually have a life. She's very clear that ambition isn't the enemy. Unexamined, unsustainable ambition is. The first big section, working hard, is where she gets into productivity, but in a way that's more about systems than vibes. She makes a few key points. Productivity isn't just about output. It's doing the right work at the right time in the right way. You need some kind of method, not just vibes and endless lists. She talks about prioritization, distinguishing between what's urgent and what's actually important, and making sure you hit the crucial tasks first instead of getting lost in admin. Time blocking and batching, grouping similar tasks together and giving yourself focused blocks of time rather than constantly switching between Slack, email, TikTok, and deep work. Deep work and flow, carving out distraction-free times where you do cognitively heavy tasks so you can get into that focused state where work feels more immersive and satisfying. She's very honest that she wrote a lot of this book for herself, because she knows how easy it is to confuse being busy with being effective. The big promise of this section is, if you learn to focus properly, you can get more done in less time and stop buying into the idea that you have to be on all day to be successful. Another theme running through the book is purpose and success. Grace pushes back against the idea that there's one big life purpose you're supposed to discover, and then everything magically clicks. Instead, she suggests, purpose can be multiple things at once, different passions and roles that evolve over time. Success is subjective. It has to be defined by your values, not just money, titles, or followers. You need to regularly check in with yourself. Is this still my version of success, or am I chasing someone else's? She also talks about self-worth, how easy it is to tie your value to your productivity or achievements, especially if you're ambitious and online, and how dangerous it is for your mental health. Part of working hard in a healthy way is learning to separate who you are from what you produce. The second half, hardly working, is all about recovery, self-care, and knowing when to step back. But she's pretty clear. Self-care isn't just bubble baths and face masks. It's about sustainable habits that keep you from hitting the wall over and over. She covers things like rest as a non-negotiable, not a reward you only get when you've done enough. Boundaries, with work, with social media, with other people's expectations, so your time and energy aren't constantly being hijacked. Real breaks. Evenings, weekends, holidays where you properly disconnect, instead of half working, half scrolling, and never truly recharging. Recognizing burnout versus laziness, and learning to see rest as a skill, not a failure. Her argument is that if you want to perform at a high level long term, hardly working isn't optional. It's part of the system. You can push hard for short bursts, but if you never pull back, your work gets worse and your life shrinks around it. By the end of Working Hard, Hardly Working, the message is pretty simple but powerful. She wants you to stop swallowing the idea that you're either a hustler or a slacker. You're allowed to be ambitious and rested at the same time. Build a basic productivity system, some prioritization, time blocking, and deep work time, so you're not stuck in a chaotic, always-on busyness. Define success and purpose on your own terms, not the internet's. Treat rest, boundaries, and self-care as part of working hard well, not as a guilty pleasure you earn at the end. Thanks for listening to that. We make sure people give their eyes some rest with our uploads. Maybe worth sharing with your friends.